All right, let's talk about the spenders. This is interesting. You got the Dodgers, obviously, who have cut back. At least at this point, they're below the luxury tax threshold. But you got the Mets and you got the Giants. Holy cow! The New York Mets have blown through the barriers on the luxury tax. They are now beyond the third tier level. The New York Mets payroll, as of us starting a podcast tonight, New York Mets payroll is $324 million.
Wow.
When you add on all the benefits and other things, and the luxury tax is going to be $76 million as of now, if they do nothing else, their total payroll is in excess of $415 million. It's a staggering amount of money. And it's like the owner, Steve Cohen, he just doesn't care about the luxury tax because, as John and you and I have talked about it, every time you go over one tier, you go to the next threshold and you go to the third threshold, the sanctions are unbelievable. Because they're over the third limit now, the third tier of the tax, which was $293 million, and they're at $324. The tax north of the 293 threshold is 92%. You pay 92% on every dollar over $293 million. I mean, it's a staggering amount of money. So that's one. And then the Giants giving a 13-year contract to lure Carlos Correa. That's kind of surprising. But San Francisco's payroll was way down. They don't have what I think is a really, really good team. San Francisco is an explosive financial market. So they must rationalize that, A, we can afford it. But like you had mentioned prior, you get a guy that's going to be, we get to age 35. What about the last 5 or 8 years of the contract? You're stuck with that. Every time I think about that, I get a flashback to the Angels contract and what they gave Albert Pujols. Mm-hmm. Staggering amount of money.
Yeah, it seems like with these long contracts, it sounds crazy to pay them in age 40, 41, 42, but they might not be thinking that way. They may just be thinking, hey, that's how we can get the average annual value low enough so we can play with that luxury tax appropriately, where they're just sort of spreading it out. And speaking of spreading it out with the Mets, they're still paying Bobby Bonilla, aren't they?
Yeah, and this is where this whole deferred money controversy came from, is he's on the hook, I don't know, the 2031. He's been out of baseball a decade, but it was a wild contract that the Mets used to get Bonilla signed with deferred money. Padres have some deferred money in some of their guys. Some clubs do it that way, but others say no. Because if you start stacking deferred money, in 5 years when the guy retires, your payroll gets chipped away because you're paying guys that are no longer playing baseball. And you don't want to do that for more than one or two guys in any given year.
But I hear you. But, it's interesting. It's the time money thing, because 5 years from now, $1 million isn't worth $1 million. But let's go back to Correa. I love that deal. Now, 13 years is a time, but the Giants need a marquee guy. They need a star to come into, and because they tried to get Judge, that didn't work. Now, Correa is already the most hated guy for the LA Dodgers. Now he's going to be wearing the Giants jersey, rolling into Chavez Ravine. That guy is just going to get just whooped with booze in LA. It's going to be great.
You mentioned San Francisco. It's weird what they've done with their pitching staff. They do have Logan Webb, who I think is a bright, light, young arm to lead their rotation. The rest of the staff, the Alex Cobbs and the Alex Woods of the world, the rest of the staff are all number 4 guys. Do they have enough pitching? Because they don't have any really young pitching aside from Logan Webb. I thought some of their free agent acquisitions were really, really strange.
Yeah, you're right. They need to kind of build that staff again. But just talking about Logan Webb, if I'm remembering the right guy, he reminds me of, you ever watch Breaking Bad?
Yeah.
Remember Jesse Plemons, that character? Logan Webb kind of looks like him. So whenever I see him on the mound, I always think of that. But yeah, he's a hell of a young pitcher. But the Giants just need stars. And I know Brandon Crawford, I think, is going to move to third to accommodate Correa. Brandon Belt, I think, is gone, right? Posey retired. So they just really need to kind of look to a new generation of players.
One back comment on the New York Mets. They have rebuilt their pitching staff. A lot of people haven't paid much attention to this. They got Mad Max Scherzer at the front of the rotation, but he's 38. They just got Verlander on the 2-year, $86 million contract. He's going to be 40. And then they went out and they got Jose Quintana, who is a mid-level rotation guy. And they just continue to do deals. And then they win the bidding war for Senga from Japan. So he comes on board. And they still got Carlos Carrasco. So the Mets have brought 4 new arms into the rotation to join Mad Max. It's going to be fascinating. Now, I don't think they've got a sexy everyday batting order, but boy, do they have brilliant pitching. And I'm fascinated to see what Senga from Japan's going to be like.
Yeah, I think we were all interested because we were hoping he was coming to San Diego. And some of these Japanese players can be really good here in Major League Baseball.